Well, good afternoon and welcome back. This is the second day of GVSU Climate Change Education Solutions Summit. So I really hope that some of you were able to participate in person, and also had some really interesting webinars this morning. So I hope this webinar will be really a great space to continue those conversations, building on the keynote of Brian Alexander, of really brilliant presentation of Denise Keele, who is here with us again today, presentation from Deidre Courtney, interactive presentations by Stephanie Baiyasi and Dr. Kozicki, who are also here in this conversation. I want to highlight a couple of more events that are going to happen this afternoon, immediately after this webinar. So we will finish at 2:55, and at 3 p.m., we will be showing documentary Great Lakes, One Water for Life by Zigmond, Kozicki, and Stephanie Baiyasi, who are here, and they might want to mention information about this webinar as well. And at 4 p.m., we will be showing documentary Climate CISO version 2. And some of you might be familiar with this project. This is a documentary by two of my former students, Kristen Davis and Leah Anderson. And you will meet in this documentary some of the people who are in the session as well. And Jess Thompson, who is here, provided not only great contributions through storytelling in this documentary, but also just phenomenal logistical support when we were working on this project. So welcome all. And with this, I would like to introduce Dr. Stephen Bertman from Western Michigan University, who is the chair of the session.
Yeah, thank you so much, Elena. And thank you everyone who we can't see, but I think you're out there for attending this session. I want to thank all of the panelists first before we get started for sharing their time and their experience, and especially big thanks to the GVSU team putting on this whole very important summit in Michigan. Thank you so much. Just as way of introduction, there are a lot of existing activities on campuses across our state trying to move the needle on climate action. I think the overarching goal of this session is to discuss and explore ways that we can build on the existing strengths, learn about what's happening on each other's campuses, support each other's work, grow the movement overall, and maybe most importantly is connect people. It's all about people and finding like-minded souls who can support each other in the work that we're doing. So this panel was chosen to reflect a little bit of the diversity of the institutions and the activities that are happening in Michigan, on Michigan campuses. Each panelist will briefly, and I'm timing 5 minutes, I'll give you the 2-minute warning, will introduce themselves, describe their organization, talk about a primary success and some of the challenges for moving forward. And then hopefully we will, if everyone stays on time, we will have time for answering some of the questions. You can put questions in the Q&A chat thing. So I'm going to lead off and talk about what's happening at Western Michigan University. I am an atmospheric organic chemist in the School of Environment, Geography, and Sustainability. And I am currently serving as the chair of our climate change working group, which has the three main goals of education, outreach, and action. Started as the brainchild of an interdisciplinary group of faculty back in 2013 or so. We currently have about 180 names on our mailing list. 15 to 20, maybe 24 people who are regular and active, but lots of other people who join for various activities. It's made up of not just faculty, but students, staff, and some very dedicated community members who come onto campus and meet with us. We meet monthly, and we are engaged in a range of different activities. We've created a climate change studies minor that is open to any student on campus. We host a monthly book club online, so we get participation from all around the world, actually, and that's a monthly thing that we do. We started a faculty fellowship program to help facilitate other colleagues to include climate change into their courses. We've hosted some pretty high-profile speakers, such as Bill McKibben and Mary Robinson, on campus, and these events are open to the public. As at least in part, to get more involved in community advocacy, and in no small part due to Denise's leadership, spun off from the working group, the Kalamazoo Climate Crisis Coalition, which is now a 501c3 nonprofit organization that is a coalition of 40 plus other organizations working to help push climate change in the larger Kalamazoo community. And we have secured funding to help hire a countywide climate coordinator that just got started. So we're pretty excited about that. In terms of our challenges, it's I want to say this as diplomatically as I can. It's kind of hard. We've been working to get our climate action plan on the campus off the ground, and have had a challenge, mostly because, well, at least in large part, I think, because there is no one in our administration that is a champion for doing this. So we really are pushing a greased stone uphill. So we're going to continue to work on that, but really excited to learn about what's going on other campuses, and maybe connecting and finding out ways to overcome some of those challenges. I'm going to pass the baton now, I think, to Elena to talk a little bit about what is going on at GVSU.
Yes, thank you, Steve, for this introduction, and also for sharing what's going on at Western. And we have learned so much from you in the past years. When we started CCS in 2018 and held our very first Climate Change Education Solutions Summit, I remember, you sent us the largest delegation, and Denise was driving, I think, so many faculty. You really inspired us to continue, because when this idea to bring everybody together for a conference came in 2019, we really didn't plan it as an annual event. We thought that would be just one-time opportunity to bring various community organizations together. And here we are in the 5th year of the summit, and the CCS network has really grown. Again, that was also inspiration coming from Kalamazoo, right, from Denise, when you and several of your colleagues encouraged us to join Global Climate Week. And this event is a part of the Global Climate Week, and I was really happy to see that now over 100 universities around the world are holding very similar events at the same time during this week. And I believe we are the only in Michigan who is participating in the Global Climate Week. So please join. We are having conversations about, eventually hosting the Global Climate Week, and this is pretty exciting. I don't want right now to comment on anything else. Grand Valley is doing many great things in terms of buildings and infrastructure. I am not a sustainability officer, so I don't feel that I'm the best person to discuss those activities. But we have definitely grown a lot over the past 5 years, both through providing this space for the conversations, but also in learning how we are better engaging in our communities. And I'm reflecting on the preliminary results and outcomes and discussions from yesterday afternoon, when we had really great participation from the community. There were about 12 community partners who were hosting tables in the Climate Expo. We had really growing participation of the local organizations through the variety of webinars, through campus events. So this is really great. And students really want more of this. So the courses on climate change are full to the brim. We are running out of capacity. Our Dean Drake yesterday was discussing our very recent climate cluster hire when we were able to hire 4 faculty across different departments in geography, geology, biology, and Water Resources Institute. And at the same time, our College of Interdisciplinary Studies also was able to hire another faculty also with expertise in climate change. So 5 faculty come in to work on climate change on the same year. I think it's pretty remarkable. So I'm looking forward for growth. Challenges, we can talk about it more. I know that will be probably next question in the discussion, but yes, we have also plenty of challenges. And with this, I'm going to pass to the next person.
That's Tom, I think, if you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. What do I do that I'm seeing myself on the little screen yet? But that's fine. I'm Tom Wassmer, a dual citizen of the US and of Germany, and a professor of biology. My research studies the timing of animal activities and how climate change may influence these temporal patterns. For the last 13 years, I've worked at Siena Heights University in Adrian, Michigan. SHU, abbreviated, is a small rural liberal arts college founded by the Adrian Dominican Sisters in 1919. We serve about 1,300 students on the ground and online, so pretty small entity. And the biology department where I work has 4 professors. So just to give you an idea about our organization. About achievements and challenges, as the chair of the Sustainability Committee, I run an environmental documentary series for the last 8 years and incentivize students by providing extra credit to watch selected documentaries covering all aspects of environmental issues and solutions. I also have been organizing the William Isa Endowment Speaker Series on the environment for the last 8 years. Our series features diverse voices from Stanford professor Mark Jacobson to Project Drawdown's John Foley to Jacob Lebel, one of the plaintiffs in Juliana versus the US, and to the Sunrise Movement this fall. While we are doing well educating our students about the climate emergency, we and myself fall short in direct climate campaigns and direct action. Yes, several students joined me and a group of Adrian Dominican Sisters to attend the 2017 People's Climate March in Washington, D.C., and we contributed twice to the World Climate and Justice Education Week, formerly Worldwide Climate Teach-In, organized by Bard College. But we could do more and should do more. In 2 weeks, I will attend a course on teaching social action taught by Scott Myers Lipton and hosted by the University of Michigan School for Environment and Sustainability in Ann Arbor. I hope to develop a course following that methodology or an extracurricular activity giving students the tools to run successful social and environmental campaigns. Communications and collaboration, synergies in the future. I sincerely hope that today's event will only be the beginning of more communication and collaboration between faculty and staff of at least our regional universities. We are all facing a climate emergency that progresses faster than scientists expected only a few years ago. And because of that, we owe it to our students to thoroughly prepare them for the world to come and to give them the tools to be vital in the solutions that we so desperately need. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Tom. Have some questions for you when we get to the Q&A session. But I think we'll pass the baton now to Stephanie and Ziggy.
Okay, great. Thank you. And as you said, my name is Stephanie Baiyasi, and I am the attending veterinarian for Saginaw Valley State University, and wanted to mention One Health as an area that I am especially interested in promoting on college campuses. One Health being a trifecta interaction between the three parts, one being human medicine, two being veterinary medicine, and three being the environment and the coordination of working together to make the planet more healthy. I'm also involved with the Great Lakes Environmental Film Festival in Manistee, Michigan, which Zigmond Kozicki is going to next elaborate now on. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, the Great Lakes Environmental Festival is an opportunity for students, faculty, and others to come together and work towards, really enjoying the idea of working to improve the climate we all share, or the environment we all share. It takes place in Manistee, Michigan, and you can go to glef.us for that. But I also like to talk about the Bioneers Project at the University of Detroit Mercy. It's a pollinator project that's been going on for about 18 years, started by the Sisters of Mercy. And this last week, we held a session there. We had about 450 participants from all over the Detroit metro area. And we'd really like other colleges, universities to send speakers or have participation of students or whatever at this event. Part of what we do is we take people on bus tours into the city to see different projects so that they can get a sense of what's going on in the community. And so I think it's a really worthwhile effort. Besides that, the university did hold a social justice conference, which was sponsored by Eagle. And we had the chair of the President of the United States Environmental Council that reports to the White House as our guest speaker. She's from Detroit. She actually grew up in the neighborhood where the university is located. And so, and we had a number of other leaders, and we may hopefully be able to do that again next year. But so we're doing things in that way at the university, but it like all of you know, takes much time to get other people involved. We don't have the curriculum that you have at Western or at Grand Valley, but the programs we do have, including Bioneers, does come out of the College of Liberal Arts, which really shows that college is already thinking ahead past English and all those other things that were typical liberal arts kinds of studies. And so we have a new president now, and he's very forward thinking, and I'm hoping that he considers climate change and the environment a worthwhile effort. So that's about all I can share right now. Stephanie and I are movie makers. We're going to be in Taiwan and Japan and Poland very soon, talking about One Health and promoting the idea of One Water also, which is another element, which you can see in the movie that's going to be on later, Great Lakes One Water for Life. And if you can't see it today, you can go on YouTube and get it. But it looks at the Great Lakes region and all the issues we're facing. And I think it hopefully will get people encouraged to get more involved in this natural resource that we're all very much benefiting from. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to both of you. Again, also have some questions for you. But we'll move on to Jess Thompson from Northern Michigan.
Great. Yes, I have lots of questions for everyone as well. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining. I'm Jess Thompson, a professor in the College of Business at Northern Michigan University. I also wear the hat of being the director of our Sustainability Hub, which has a very sweet acronym. It's the Sustainability Hub for Innovation and Environment, SHINE. It's new. It launched after more than a decade of our Sustainability Advisory Council working to say we need to institutionalize sustainability at our institution. I had come previously from Colorado State University, where we had this monthly brown bag lunch series on climate change research, and all the different faculty took turns talking about their research and whatnot. And I loved that. I loved attending those events. And so when I came here, I said to our provost, just like over coffee, wouldn't it be neat? And he was like, yeah, sure, go do it, figure it out. So we did, and we've had this fabulous thing. We call it the Northern Climate Network. We have a big mailing list of faculty, staff, and these really engaged retirees. I find some of the best community engagement, mostly because they're free on a Friday at noon to join us on campus. We have one kind of flagship event, and that's our Climate at Noon series. So once a month, we'll bring a speaker in. Usually it's someone local. During COVID, we were able to draw people from all over the world, but it has gained some attention in our community, and our county's climate adaptation task force said, hey, can we join forces? Can we collaborate? We're looking to increase our outreach and public engagement, and it looks like you've got this avenue that's working. And so that's been wonderful, because they connected us with a donor who said, we want to keep seeing this happen. How can we help you? And we're like, well, we're just like a ragtag group of volunteers. But, we like having a student to manage the social media and get the message out and design the posters and put them up. And so this donor funds every year a student scholarship to help run the network. And that has been a blessing. And it's wonderful to have that, one, that students getting that experience, but it's also that responsibility is accounted for and paid for. And I will say, I know this is coming up on Friday. Our last Climate at Noon was about climate anxiety, and it drew a huge crowd. It was standing room only. We actually had to go out into other classrooms and try to scramble some chairs. I sat on the floor. So these are issues that are definitely very pertinent for students, staff, faculty, and community members. We've also had topics that tend to focus around policies. Our state rep, Jen Hill, came and talked about what was happening in Lansing, but we've had student groups present about things they're doing. The whole point is that we facilitate this forum for climate change communication and climate action, or collective action, in our community. One of the other major projects that I've been working on for the past 2 years is our university's carbon neutrality plan. This really started as a petition from a professor to our then university president. And at the time, that president had the wherewithal to say, I'm not going to sign anything until I know what we can do. So tasked the vice president of finance and administration with leading a task force. And just this month, we were able to share out the draft plan with campus, and we've been hosting listening/information sessions all month. And the big input we're getting is, where are scope 3 emissions? And so actually, this was 2 days ago, a member of the board of trustees knocked on my door and said, how's that carbon neutrality plan going? How are those info sessions? I was like, they're going well. We're getting a lot of feedback just about scope 3. So he goes up to the vice president's office and says, when are you going to do something about scope 3? And I was like, oh, this is so cool. So I tell everyone this is the time to be at Northern, because we have, one thing Steve mentioned is like having someone in administration who can move things forward and is a champion. And we have a couple climate champions on our board, and we have a new president that we're really excited about. So our next step is to see if we can get some sort of scope 3 inventory. This brings us to the challenge. If you need to write a strategic plan, communication coordination, like I'm your gal, I've got that strength. But when we look across our entire campus, we don't have anyone with carbon accounting or greenhouse gas inventory expertise. So that also created an opportunity. I reached out to some colleagues at Michigan Tech where they actually train students. They actually have a student club that does this, their Green Campus Enterprise Club. So Northern was a client for the student club, and they helped us do our baseline greenhouse gas inventory. And that has then led to lots of other like sharing our experiences and expertise, and we're really learning. And if we could grow that out to statewide, I think it would be really helpful just to hear what other colleges and universities in Michigan are doing. That was the other thing the trustee asked me, is like, what other schools in Michigan are looking at scope 3? And like, I had to scramble. I actually spent a couple hours online that night, like, okay, there's Michigan State, there's Western, oh, this is dated from 2010, 2012. So I was able to find your stuff, but it was like looking through a bunch of squirrel nests. So it would be great if we had a network, just a forum where we can share and ask questions and try to get quick answers to some of these things so we can help move each other forward. Thanks so much.
I don't know where to start, Jess. We need to talk a lot more. But I think that Denise, oh no, wait, I'm sorry, Jesse. Michel, is that how we pronounce your last name?
Oh,
Jesse?
I actually pronounce it as Michael. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us, and we're excited to hear what's going on at SEAS.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Jessie Ostrow Michael. I use she, hers pronouns, and I am a postdoctoral research fellow in the School for Environment and Sustainability at the University of Michigan. And my research focuses on assessing students' learning at the higher education level around sustainability, climate change, and environmental justice. And I'm here to chat with you today on behalf of my supervisor, Associate Dean Michel, as well as two of our grad students working with us, Taylor Valentine and Maita Elianzo Pinedo. And today I'm excited to share with you a bit about our most recent initiative, which is the Advancing Climate Education Initiative, which really looks to advance and infuse climate change education throughout the University of Michigan. So this initiative grew from our deep belief that students must be prepared to address the climate crisis, regardless of their career paths. So in SEAS, in the School for Environment and Sustainability, we're preparing our students who are committed to this field. But what about the students, as mentioned by many of the great panelists thus far, in other disciplines of study that don't traditionally have exposure or access to learning about this topic? So Associate Dean Zint collaborated last year in fall 2023 with associate deans from throughout the university to create a proposal that was funded to essentially get this initiative funded so that we can get this initiative supported underway. And to do so, we taught a class because we felt it was really important to have students help co-construct the event, which was a seminar that happened last spring, and that was really the kickoff to this initiative. So it was sort of this class that led to this larger event. The event had over 150 participants from throughout the university. We had students both at the undergrad level as well as grad level, both master's and doctoral students. We had faculty and staff representing over 16 of the University of Michigan schools participating. And this event was an interactive hands-on session where participants could learn about the current climate education efforts taking place on campus, but also brainstorming ways to improve climate education on campus further. And resulting from this event was a set of 4 recommendations that we published in a report. The 4 recommendations are to support faculty, climate education, professional development, to transform the University of Michigan into a campus living lab, to integrate climate education across the University of Michigan's curriculum, and to adopt climate education for student success. And these recommendations came from several phases of sort of reiterating over and over again. We worked with students, we worked with a task force, multiple different constituents to help us develop these recommendations. And I will actually, when I'm done speaking, post the link to a report that we recently published that we're very excited about. I'll post it in the chat. This report really summarizes our entire initiative and also lists these recommendations. Great. So some accomplishments. We had really, really positive feedback on our event. Participants remarked how it gave them the opportunity to learn what others on campus are doing. We often have, isolated pockets doing this work, and the whole school approach is not something that we are doing quite well at the time. So really gave participants the opportunity to learn what one another are doing, form relationships, network with one another, and also work together to have conversations about how we can build upon the work that one another is doing to further build out, to make this more robust, to advance climate education throughout the university. We also have a new president who, President Ono, comes from University of British Columbia, who has been involved with climate education. So we're also excited to see under his leadership how we can advance this further. But some of the challenges that we're facing, limited funds. So we're, doing this on a shoestring budget, and really to be able to have staff to fund an initiative like this, to leading up to the event, hosting the event, and also doing assessment work, assessing event productivity, but also like long-term how we can take the recommendations and move them into action. So funding has been a challenge. Also the coordination across units. I had said that we don't follow a whole school approach well, the way the literature boasts and supports. And so having sort of, as I said, pockets of places on campus, units and departments not speaking to one another about their climate change initiatives has been hard to kind of get people to work together towards this common goal throughout the university. So moving forward, we are hoping to do another event this coming spring. As you can see on my background, this time we're focusing specifically on climate anxiety. So leadership for turning climate anxiety into action will be the theme of our next event, which we're very excited about. So we hope to follow a similar model. We hope to take the recommendations from our previous events and employ those into this new event to strengthen it, and then also again use this new theme, something that is really important to us on campus now, as we know that students kind of have this doom gloom approach to climate change, how we can empower them to be leaders for anxiety into climate action. We recently also hired the University of Michigan's first ever associate vice president for campus sustainability, and we're in the process of hiring a vice provost for sustainability. So these two champions, in conjunction with our new president, we're hoping can really support us in advancing this initiative forward. And in terms of collaborating, we're really interested in this work that we're doing and would love to do some sort of inter-campus event. So we've been focusing specifically, as I said, on the University of Michigan, but it would be great if we can come together and have some sort of inter-campus collaboration, how together we could advance climate education throughout the throughout the state, the state of Michigan. So thank you all for sharing. I've really enjoyed learning from all of you, and I will pass it over to the next one. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jessie. I guess Denise, now you are on.
Well, hello. Oh my goodness, how inspired we all should be already after hearing all of this activity that is going on. I am so honored to be here with you today as the only one without a formal appointment at a university anymore. As I think most of you know, I was a professor in political science at Western Michigan University for about 14 years and chaired the working group that Steve is now ably handling for, gosh, about 8 or 10 years, a long time. We did this work together from that vantage point, and then of course founded and led the Kalamazoo Climate Crisis Coalition. And a year and a half ago, I transitioned into directorship for the Michigan Climate Action Network. And I think every day about what Denise at WMU and in KCCC needed, right? And that's what I am now here a year and a half after trying to figure out how to run a nonprofit on my own, how we can now reach back and support those folks. And so just really quickly, the mission of the Michigan Climate Action Network is to amplify, connect, and support the people and organizations and communities that are demanding urgent, bold, and equitable solutions for a just transition to a resilient future. And our core role is amplifying, is being the megaphone. You can all see why I took this job. I get to have a megaphone, right? About getting all of your actions out there and showcasing the positive solutions-oriented work that all of you are doing. And the second kind of backup role is that connecting piece about things. So how are we connected together? I find it fascinating that, even when I was at Western, you think you're so connected. I knew about so many of you, but we didn't regularly talk or share ideas or support each other. And it's exactly the same thing when we look at the community groups, right? There are like 20 different community groups across the state, in Kalamazoo, in Grand Rapids, in Marquette, in Oakland County, in Lansing. They don't talk to each other, right? They kind of know about each other, but they just don't have the time to do those things. And I feel like I am perfectly positioned in this new role to take on some of that overall collaborative innovation and connecting us. Our overall impact, where I see why I want to connect these activities is we want to make sure our state meets or exceeds all the goals that are in our My Healthy Climate Plan. We have a state climate plan. It is pretty good. I think we could do even better. And I do believe the only way we're going to get there is having our local communities and educational institutions really building into that plan, right? Every city and every college, which is mostly a lot of times your own little city, has unique challenges and solutions like you've all just discussed, right? And we have to really figure out what we're doing well in those pieces so we can have any chance of feeding those into the state process and making that plan as best as it can be. I was honored to give a talk with the folks who were in person yesterday, and one of the highlights that I've been looking at is some research from the North American Association for Environmental Education. They have done a nationwide K through 12 teacher survey about, hey, do y'all want to be teaching climate change? Guess what? Yes, like 84%. Administrators as well. Administrators are even higher than teachers in understanding that there's a responsibility to teach climate to our students. But when we ask how many teachers are actually teaching, 39%. And I know it's because of all the barriers and constraints that you all just listed, especially in the K through 12, where they are thinking about standards and how to meet that in time and funding. The biggest gap, though, is something called the competence gap. 21% of educators reported that they didn't feel like they knew enough to be able to integrate it into their new subject area, right? For so long, we know it has been in the sciences and come out of the environmental education piece. And we all know this has to be interdisciplinary, and that art and drama and music and literature, all of the humanities and all of the social sciences need these champions too. So I feel like we have a real role to play in also sharing those resources. And the professional development for ourselves is something I think we can think about offering, right? How do we train the trainers? At Western, as Steve mentioned, there's a program to try to bring in new faculty as fellows and give them a mentor at least. And like, how do you do this? How do you think about it's daunting, right? Sometimes for a new person to think about that. So one of the things that we did to sort of kickstart this at Michigan Climate Action Network, well, I'll back up. 2 years ago, we wrote a report on all those communities and what they were doing and how they were leading on bold climate action. And we're able to feed that right into the My Healthy Climate Plan. And this year, I was blessed with my own intern. I got to be on the other side of that equation and be the host site for an intern from Western, which was super fun for me. And we worked together and we did a higher education report. And so, Jess, when you were talking about looking around, what is everybody even doing and how do I find that and where is it? That's what we started with. And we started with the 15 public universities in Michigan. You know, you got to put bounds on any study. And I threw that link in the chat earlier. I think, thanks, Elena has already shared that. What we really focused on there were the campus pieces and the community pieces, right? There's lots of pieces that we can analyze and study, but 6 of those universities have a climate action plan, are doing those pieces. We should be sharing that and learning from each other and supporting each other and how we do that. And every single university is doing something. And all of them had some version of the groups that you're talking about on your campuses. And all of them have some version of a student group, right? Almost always there's also a community group. So I feel like we must have a really good idea if we're all doing it, is what I try to think about. And I do feel like, again, the network piece, the collaboration piece has been what's kind of been missing from a lot of our work. And again, I'm really here to just talk about how we could potentially start to build a state table around these pieces. MyCan is also working with an organization, if you're not familiar with the Michigan Alliance for Environmental and Outdoor Educators, a fantastic group. I know some Mayoites are probably out there in the audience, so hello. We joined forces, gave a talk to them a year or so ago, and we have joined forces and created a climate action education team. And it's very similar to the values and the missions that all of you are talking about. Because of this competence gap, we want to make sure that we're thinking about high quality interdisciplinary resources, right? We can all go on the web. There's a million things out there. It's almost too much. You need someone who says, here's an assignment, here's a good resource, and here's how you use it, right? So we want to make sure we're doing professional development along with that. And we also really feel that some of the Michigan education policy needs to be updated along environmental literacy and climate standards. And again, I was stunned as an educator when the My Healthy Climate Plan came out. There's not a role for education in it. I think that's a big missed opportunity, and that, again, we could be feeding all of our work into those pieces. So I think the report is out there. I really want to build on what Elena and GVSU has created in the Climate Change Education Solutions Network. We've got this partnership with the Mayo folks, right? And those environmental educators, which includes folks like your nature center educators or interpreters. The place-based, the experiential things that they can provide are just so critical to what we're doing here. And I think of this network really as a variety of layers. All of you know all the people at your universities. You all have 150 people each in your groups, right? I don't need to know all those people because you know them. We need to feed those into the state level. And the same thing happens with those community groups, right? 40 groups in the Kalamazoo, 80 groups in the Grand Rapids one. I don't need to know all those people, but we need to fill that up to the state level. So I will kind of end there and just do, this is just a call to action here that I think MyCan is in a perfect position to help us coordinate and support each other and talk to each other a little bit more regularly and make this all happen. The one other thing that Mayo and I are doing right now is a survey of educators. And so I'm going to put that link in the chat so that we can start to more formally understand who we all are, where we're coming from, what are those challenges, and what are some of those successes. So let's maybe open it up, and I hope I didn't take too much time there, and talk through what we should do as a collaborative unit and where we go from here.
Always a pleasure to listen to you talk, Denise. Thank you so much for all your work and for the work that MyCan does. And it's just exciting to think about. I mean, the challenge is, how do we implement this collaboration, and having MyCan at the center, or potentially at the center, or willing to help forge a plan, makes all the difference, I think. So thank you, and thank you to all of you for sharing all of the great work that you're doing. I think, Elena, can we review the results of the poll?
Absolutely, yes. I'm just like almost as excited as during the election season to share the results of the polls. Can you all see the answers on the screen? We didn't have full participation. I'm not sure if everybody in the audience have noticed that we are running the poll, but we have fairly good participation. 70% participated, so we know who is here. It's 12% students, 53% faculty. Makes sense, faculty are here. Only 6% are administrators and 35% are other. And I would think that those are our community support groups. When we are looking at the geographic distribution, we see that 94% of our audience are in Michigan. That makes total sense to me. And we have 6% out of the state in the US. When we are looking at the pattern of the universities, the distribution of the type of universities who are participating today, have 59% of our audience is in public universities, 6% is in private, 6% is in K-12. No community college faculty have participated today. 12% are informal educators, and 18% are none of the above, probably not educators, but are still very interested in this topic. So let's talk a little bit about what we have learned from this poll, and then I will share, let's just maybe have a quick comment if you have any, and then we can move to the next poll.
Can I be optimistic?
This 59% of public universities, what does it tell all of you, who is here and why we're here?
The glass is half full.
Very true.
It seems like we could do a better job reaching out to our community college partners and colleagues, and I think that's an important lesson.
Well, are we ready for? Yeah, go ahead.
Stephanie and I both worked in community college for a number of years, and so we have a understanding of what goes on there. Yeah, I think their goals seem to be more about the community and less about the state. And I think that may be one thing that we have to consider, is they're going to be much more conscribed to their community issues.
It's very true. I think that when we are talking about how build those connections between community organizations and education system in general, not only universities, then community colleges are very often overlooked. And this is where probably there's most of the need, because community colleges are also supporting local schools, and they're really this natural pipeline between the schools and the universities. So I am super happy to share that we have just received the grant from GVSU to work with Muskegon Community College, specifically on youth empowerment through climate action, working with underprivileged communities in Muskegon area, with schools in Muskegon Heights and Muskegon Public Schools. I'm really looking forward to this 2-year project and would love to chat with all of you about what we can do together through this project.
And the university, the community college that I had been involved with did have a sustainability office and an officer at that time. So I know that there is some things going on there. There's also collaborations amongst community colleges. So I don't know if Muskegon Community College is part of any kind of a consortium. We worked with somebody by the name of Cypress, last name Cypress, Ziggy remembers, who had a coordination of community colleges, and there might be a way to link into that person or their network to include or try to get more community college involvement in something like this, Elena.
Thank you. Well, let's take a look at the second poll, and this is probably where we'll have most of insights as we asked our audience about their successes and challenges. And I want to make sure that you all see the results on the screen. We have a little bit less of participation in this poll. 56% of our participants logged their answers. And clearly we see that most of successes are coming from the new course in the curriculum. And this is probably at least the way how we see as faculty. This is where we see most of our success because the majority of our participants are faculty. So 50% identify success as new courses and curriculum, 14% identify success through student activism, 21% engage in the outside community, and 14% other. This does not have to add to 100% because there were multiple possible answers. When we are looking at the biggest impediments to further progress, we clearly see that lack of time is coming first. Faculty seem to be overloaded. So 50% have identified lack of time as the major problem. 14% see the problems mainly associated with the lack of support from school administrators. We really didn't see any lack of interest of the faculty, 0%, this is great. 7% see lack of interest of the students, and 7% see it as a lack of financial resources. And this is not bad. If only 7% see lack of financial resources as a problem, I think that's fabulous. And then 21% is other, and we don't know. We really need to investigate what are other problems. Any comments? How we can interpret this data?
Yeah, one comment that I might make, the curriculum is our comfort zone, right? It's what we do, it's what we know how to do, and we're comfortable doing that. And I think that one big challenge is getting beyond the curriculum and reaching out beyond our comfort zone. Denise, did you want to comment on that, or?
I did, but Ziggy had his hand up first, so go ahead, Ziggy.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, I was just going to say that, one of the reasons that curriculum, and I'm glad you brought this up, thank you, Steve, is shaped the way it is there's certifying groups like the Higher Learning Commission. If you have a program that certifies your particular discipline, and they, I think, oftentimes don't see climate or environmental issues as being a part of their narrow thinking. And so in order to really get all of the other entities in place, I think we need to start approaching the certifying groups and asking them if they would start looking at climate and environment as something that can be moved into some of these curriculums, because there's only so many slots open, and the registrars at all these schools are trying to move people through, and there isn't room for that extra class in somebody's advancement plan to progress to graduation, because it's not built into the curriculum, and it's not built in the curriculum because the certifying body doesn't recognize it or doesn't see it as something that they should be weaving into the process. So I think that's part of where we need to go, is to look at maybe getting an inventory of all the certifying bodies for colleges and universities and seeing where are they on this subject.
Yeah.
And if they aren't, then maybe we need a dialogue with them.
Yeah, great point. And related to one of the questions in the Q&A about the New Jersey system of
Steve, Jessica has been raising hand for a long time, so we're going to first.
Yep. I was going to ask Denise because she had her hand up first, and to Jesse.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll just chime in real quickly. I think that there's a lot of overlap in these in this analysis when we think about new courses in the community and engaging the outside community. I think for a long time we've thought about those as separate things, and like one person is trying to do all of that in all of their courses. I think that's very related to the timing issue. I know how overwhelming that absolutely feels, and I think that it really is about organizing at that time and all the individuals that are on that list into those roles, right? That's just what we haven't had, the sort of mega organizing, right? To say, how do we engage the community in the experiential learning we all know needs to be happening on climate education, and save ourselves some time in doing that. So I really find those results very promising and very intriguing as we think towards a sort of state collaboration piece.
Right. Yeah. And Jesse, maybe you're going to enlighten us about how you're handling that in Ann Arbor.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think, just thinking through like the history of teaching about sustainability, it's a relatively new discipline of study, right? And it's interdisciplinary, which makes it complex. And, we have decades and decades and decades of, scholarship on how to teach history, how to teach mathematics, right? We also have, like accrediting boards, right, that know metrics for measuring what students should be learning in these disciplines, which we don't yet have in sustainability. So I'm actually, just a minute, I'll post in the chat a study that I worked on that was looking at competencies for sustainability. And that's something that we're still figuring out in sustainability. So if we don't have this framework for what we should be teaching, what students, should be graduating with, what they should be learning, it makes this all a little bit more complicated. Something that I wanted to just remark on before that, though, is when I look at the results from the second question, how, let's see, so it says that 50% say lack of time, and then only 7% say lack of financial resources. I actually think there's a deep relationship between the two, because we know that faculty are usually rewarded on research productivity, right? Or they're rewarded in different ways. So funding, I think, if we think about funding, it's related there because they're using their time in the way that they'll be compensated. And less often are they, they're compensated, rewarded, whatever the case is, for their teaching. And it takes a lot of time to develop, or, whether it's learning about sustainability, to be able to teach it into classes, or to learn about pedagogies for sustainability. We know we don't just teach sustainability in a way that we might teach or climate change or climate justice, whatever the case might be. We don't necessarily use the same pedagogies we might teach, use to teach, mathematics or whatever the case might be. So I think that when I look at these results, I don't actually see them as, lack of financial resources or lack of time, but I think they're deeply related. And I think that this just goes back to the overall reward structure of contemporary higher education, but how are we rewarding our faculty and for what? And maybe there's a larger conversation there as well.
Right. Thank you so much. I think we're running out of time, but maybe we can, as a way of closing, look at the last poll.
So the last poll is here, and we hear overwhelming 85% tell that yes, we would like to see a network connecting campuses statewide. 15% say maybe.
That's
What's next?
Yeah, that's fabulous. So I mean, if we had more time, I would say, let's find out who these people are and figure out a way, perhaps through MyCan's networks, to bring people together again for maybe a longer conversation. I don't know, Denise, what your thoughts are about that?
Absolutely. Let's go, folks. We're here. I'm so glad to see that response. We will figure out the next step from here with Elena's help and all of you who registered and showed up today and our reports, and look forward to convening this group.
If people are interested, please send a quick note, and we will start a mailing list and get back to you.
Stephen, would you like to share, perhaps, since you are going to be a recipient of this information, would you like to share your email with the audience? And we'll put it in the chat.
Absolutely. I'll put it in the chat right now.
I don't mind them either.
So here is Denise and Steve. I think you have enough of my email as you are receiving all the updates of CCS, so I'm not putting it here. And I see that Jessica was sharing a fabulous publication, and I'm also sharing it with everyone as well. So I see that we have a couple of questions in the Q&A, so maybe we can take them really, really quickly. Otherwise, these questions can be just directed to specific faculty if they're more targeted.
Well, I can take the one, the MyCan Mayo, and we're partnered with Eagle as well, our state agency, have communicated. I've had some conversations with the folks in New Jersey who set that state standard. We are learning a lot about what went well and maybe lessons learned from that, but that is absolutely one of the goals of that partnership, to work on some of that state policy pieces and what do we need there. And we want to make sure it will be helpful is our main goal there.
Right. It'd be interesting to see how this climate literacy bill shapes up and whether it actually accomplishes what it needs to accomplish.
Well, thank you all. Fantastic conversation. I know that we are running out of time and ready to go and watch the movie in a few minutes on the next link. So thank you all for your wonderful contributions. And I'm just looking forward to continue those conversations, hopefully very soon.
Right. Thank you, everyone.